Hello. So I'm Will and this is Aaron, and we've been making furniture together for about 5 years. And after discovering Precious Plastics, which is an open source recycling community on YouTube, we decided to start Still Life with the aim to make waste materials more desirable and encourage their use as a resource.
Tonight we're going to go through all the processes involved in turning waste into one of our recycled plastic stools, which we've designed to be totally repairable and recyclable to further extend their lives.
So we start the process by collecting our waste plastic from the local area around our studio in the south side of Glasgow, which mainly comes from a collection point in Locavore, donations, and the odd parcel sent up from our mums.
We then joyfully hand sort through millions of smelly lids and bottles, separating them by colour and taking out anything that isn't HDPE, which is the plastic type we've settled on using for furniture because it's readily available, non-toxic and durable. Here are a few pieces that we couldn't bear to shred.
After sorting the plastic, we give it a quick rinse and then shred it using a machine we built from open source plans off the Precious Plastics website. The machine is a scaled-down version of industrial granulator, which was designed to be built anywhere in the world with commonly found components and materials. The plans are designed in such a way that you can adapt them to the materials you have available. The motor for our shredder came from an old tumble dryer, and before that, we used an exercise bike. Once the plastic is shredded, it is stored until needed.
So early on, we decided to use the compression method of plastic recycling, as it's easier to achieve a result that's scalable and robust. To turn our shredded plastic into an object, we designed and manufactured a multi-purpose aluminium mold that can form it into either a stool top or a tray. We designed it like this to cut down on costs and material wastage. The next step is to select the colours and weigh out 2.2 kilograms of plastic, equivalent to over 1,000 bottle tops. This is then rinsed and sieved to remove any non-plastic dirty gubbins and finally placed in a microplastic washing bag and popped in the machine.
So once clean and dried, the plastic is ready to be melted. We fill both sides of the mould and place in a domestic oven at 180 degrees for around 3 hours, adding more plastic as it melts down. At this temperature, the plastic melts to a dough-like consistency and doesn't release any toxic fumes, making it easy to handle and safe to work with. To achieve a smooth finish on the surface and avoid holes, it is important to ensure there's an even distribution of plastic throughout the mould, taking care to remove any rogue pieces.
Once both sides are lovely and gooey, we get out our iPhones and squish the Billy Bobs together with the 20-ton bottle jack in our adapted and fortified workshop press. The three key elements to getting a good result are even heat, squeaky clean plastic, and a consistent pressure until cooled. Depending on our ratios of colour to white, the plastic can behave like a raging sloppy pizza or a sluggish and tidy shoe. It's then left overnight to cool. Just wait a minute for this, please.
So the first thing we do each morning is to reveal yesterday's stool top. We chip off the excess splurge, which is collected and reused. After removing the guidance pins, we can open the mould, and if it's a juicy top, it's then trimmed, sanded, and buffed up, ready for the club. Here's some examples of the jolly party tops. Larger chunks of colour swirl and dance, whereas white plastic tends to remain static. The dragon on the blue top was a complete accident, and is an example of the element of chance involved. Much like ceramics, we have an idea of what will come out, but there's always a few surprises.
The next bit is probably the most stressful part of creating the stool. We mark up and drill the leg holes ready for threading, It's really important to have everything aligned properly at this stage, otherwise we'll end up with wonky drunken legs or a weakened thread. After drilling, we use a hand threading tool to create a female thread in the holes and a male thread on the wooden legs. This allows us to screw both materials together without using glue or other components, importantly keeping the stool fully repairable or recyclable.
So sourcing the right wood for our design is a fun process, and it is one that will continue as we enjoy selecting from what is currently available rather than having to get timber shipped from further afield. Most recently, we've bought some sycamore and elm from Inzavar Woods, which all comes from within 50 miles of Glasgow.
Lathing the legs is probably the most enjoyable part of making the stool. Our aim is to turn a shape that's practical and sturdy, but also nice to hold and look at. It can be quite meditative work, and it's part of the design that will likely evolve as we learn new techniques.
We continue to experiment with our two materials and try to achieve different results within the design parameters of the stool. This both keeps the processes interesting and has led us to discover some new techniques, especially with the plastic. In future, we're planning to design some new multi-purpose molds to make larger pieces, lampshades, pots, or our most requested item to date, the toilet seat.
Okay, thank you. Been terrifying.